grip socks are great, and now they're even better with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Better fit, moisture wicking, amazing comfort, and all the extra grip you need. Choose from 10 different colors for just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
When it comes to reviewing high-end football boots, for the most part, they all tend to be pretty good, which means the best way to pass any kind of judgment is by way of comparison. How good are these compared to other options? Because if there are better options out there, then why wouldn't you just pick those? And in the case of the Puma Ultra Ultimate that I have here in the very late teaser pack camo colorway that normally comes out before the boots officially release, these are now 2 months after the official release, so they're not really teasing anything. Nonetheless, this is a great pair of football boots, but in comparison to much of their competition, I just question whether or not these are actually worth it. And I want to be 100% clear in saying that I've been a big fan of the Puma Ultra line up until this point. The Ultra 1.4 that these boots replace, I thought were some of Puma's best ever speed boots, period. Phenomenal value for money and great overall performance. So the question that I want to answer in this video is, was I too harsh in my initial review of the Ultra Ultimate, or are there just simply better options out there? That's what we're going to discuss, including how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around. And if you are interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can pick them up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And really quickly, if you enjoy these brutally honest reviews, drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2022. Starting with the upper, Ultra Weave and Power Print are the two main new technologies featured on the Ultra Ultimate. It's a textile base, woven of course, with a power print texturing on the surface that is definitely a little bit difficult to see on this colorway because of all the graphics, but the texturing, I would say, is relatively minor to the touch and even more insignificant on the ball. I really can't say that you notice a lot of additional grip with these particular football boots. And as far as the upper is concerned, it's very thin. It offers a raw barefoot feel on the ball, but it doesn't necessarily feel soft. It doesn't necessarily feel sock-like. It's not as pliable as I would personally like it to be, although definitely a little bit less plasticky than what we had on the Ultra 1.4. It does admittedly feel less structured than those football boots, and that's not just down to the upper itself, that's down to the new shape, which arguably has a little bit more width and a little bit more volume that the boots don't necessarily need. Nonetheless, if we're comparing it to other options out there, I just can't say that this feels like a better variation of the Vaporposit Plus that you're going to find on the latest generation of Mercurials. And if you're looking for something that's equally as thin but just more pliable and comfortable on your feet, I think what's on offer from the New Balance Furon V7 Pro is simply better. Like most other speed boot options, you are of course going to find a one-piece upper construction with some elasticated knit covering the top of your foot, a lacing system that is pushed slightly to the lateral side, although I would kind of classify this as a central lacing system, allowing for plenty of adjustability, which I really like. There is the gimmicky power tape feature, which is this Y-shaped kind of fused on piece of material at the back of the heel directly over top of a solid plastic heel counter. This is supposed to be a structure element, but whether or not you want to choose to believe that that little bit of tape is actually doing anything, I guess that's totally on you. I think it's there for the sake of looks. Looks cool. I don't think it's very effective in terms of improving performance. Low cut design, a little bit of an extended tail, no major issues there. I think that's kind of how a speed boot should be. But then we get to the heel liner, which I do take some issue with, in that they have changed it up compared to previous generations of Ultra. It's got this soft microfiber lining material, which I quite like, but you can see they've gone very minimalist in terms of the amount of padded foam underneath that heel liner. There's basically just one strip that kind of runs halfway up the back of your heel. So above and just below, you're sitting directly against that internal plastic heel counter, which I personally find to be pretty uncomfortable, again, compared to other options out there. I'm just not a big fan of this heel liner. It could have done with a lot more padding. It would have made this boot a much better experience for me. Although this is one of those things where the specific shape of your feet and the specific shape of your heel might determine how good or bad this feels for you specifically. For me, I just don't like this heel construction at all. And then as far as the insole is concerned, it's a little bit different on this pre-release colorway in that it doesn't have the nano grip liner on the surface, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think that this feels quite as good. It just doesn't have that soft silicone texturing. Looks quite cool though, and you can see it's made from a single layer of white foam with a little perforated foam insert, which is actually pretty solid as far as speed boot insoles go. Which brings us to the base of the Ultra Ultimate, which features new tooling for the Ultra line for the first time ever, and I can't say that it necessarily improves on what they were doing before, in that for the arguably better feel that this has in terms of how the forefoot flexes, it's gained a significant amount of weight, where now the Ultra is kind of in the same weight range, if not heavier, than much of their competition, which is the exact opposite of what we got from the first 4 generations of Ultra, which were far and away lighter than any other speed boot option. So for me, the extra weight gain doesn't necessarily justify the slightly more solid underfoot feel that this sole plate has. And then when you compare it to other flagship sole plate technologies that are out there, predominantly from Puma's main competition in Nike with their new Air Zoom tech in the Mercurial series, and Adidas with that Carbitex insert in the Speed Portal series, this just feels, dare I say, a little bit old school and just not very special in comparison to other sole plate options out there. And then as far as the stud pattern is concerned, they do brand this as FGAG, although I really don't think this is a great option for use on artificial grass, and the layout of the studs is pretty well identical to what you're going to get from an Adidas product. It's aggressive, it provides plenty of bite, it's on par with most speed boots out there, but again, isn't really a standout in any way at all. Which brings us to the weight, where, as I've talked about in past videos, I don't think it's everything when it comes to a pair of football boots in regards to performance. You don't need super light boots to run quickly. However, I do think what the Ultra line had going for it in comparison to all of its competition is how much lighter those boots were, and I think that was a major contributing factor to the very unique and special feel that those had on feet. And unfortunately, Puma have gone away with that with the Ultra Ultimate. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that these boots weigh in at 6.7 ounces, the equivalent of 190 grams, which is still very lightweight by speed boot standards. However, in comparison to its competition, it's now in 3rd place. And granted, we're talking about just a couple of grams, so it's not really a noticeable amount of weight, but technically, the Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite and the New Balance Furon V7 Pro are both lighter football boots. If you're somebody that really cares about those couple extra grams, there are lighter options out there. On feet, the Ultra Ultimates feel fine, but also remarkably unexceptional compared to some of the other competition out there. And of course, fit and feel is much more subjective than a lot of the other comparisons that I've made up until this point. Somebody might put these on their feet and think that they are the most comfortable thing in the world, even in comparison to boots that I personally like more. So that's definitely worth keeping in mind. But for me personally, I can tell you that I don't love the fit through the heel. I just find it to be too hard and not nearly as comfortable as several other options out there in the speed category. The shape of the boot is fine, although there seems to be an unnecessary amount of volume and height to the toe box, very close to the tip of the toe, which is difficult for you guys to see, but I immediately notice it when putting these boots on. And again, the feel of this upper I just think is unexceptional in comparison to something like the Vaporposit Plus of the Mercurial, and certainly what's featured on the New Balance Furon V7 Pro. From a width perspective, I think these are going to be suitable for most people as long as you don't have ridiculously wide feet. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to get a pair, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. But overall, Ultra Ultimate on feet, just, I guess, sub-ultimate. So, in conclusion, is the Ultra Ultimate a good pair of football boots? The answer to that question is an easy yes, and I think the vast majority of people that do decide to go for a pair are going to be pretty happy with them. With that said, can I stand here and wholeheartedly say that I believe the Ultra Ultimate is an improvement over the Ultra 1.4 that it replaces? Absolutely not. I would much rather have the previous generation. And if we're comparing it to current speed boot options, while these technically are the least expensive at $200 in a normal colorway, keep in mind this one does have a $20 premium on it, I personally, in terms of value for money, would rather spend an extra 15 bucks and get the $215 New Balance Furon V7 Pro. I think in terms of what these have on offer, the New Balance boots pretty much beat it in every single category. And like I said, that extra 15 bucks is well worth it. Or if you're just looking for an even better overall performer, arguably an even more unique experience, spending $50 more on a Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite, in my opinion, is just the way to go over the Ultra Ultimate. They're not bad, they're just unexceptional in comparison to what else is out there.